All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash, and double honors unto the elders and apostles of GMS who do well. Shalom to the affiliate camps. Shalom to the hopeful election. And there's Rapah Shabbat. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to do a lesson on Hosea, the first chapter today. Hosea, the first chapter, and I might dibble into the second chapter. Pretty much going into you know, the prophet Hosea ministered to the northern kingdom in the time, at the time the kings was still on the scene, selling them off to the people, they were selling, the children off to the people, pretty much taking women from other nations, attaching themselves to whoredoms, and idolatry, which, spiritual adultery, pretty much worshiping these different idols, taking on the customs of these different gods, man, you know. And the Lord likened that on to, he told Hosea, go ahead and marry a wife from another nation, which was supposed to, which wouldn't be fitting, it was supposed to represent, how we did the Lord, right? Our unfaithfulness to the Lord, our actions to the Lord led him to, tell the prophet Hosea, just go ahead and deal with women from other nations because the kings, the people, pretty much they're whoring out their daughters, and more than that though, they're participating in spiritual adultery, man. They're learning the ways of the heathen, and they're performing their enterprises through these ways. Pretty much they're pushing that vibration of the heathen, helping push the vibration of the heathen gods, man, even on the people, and that teed the Lord off, man. And the Lord told Hosea, go ahead and marry, whores, pretty much go ahead and deal with these people from another nation, man. Which will symbolize, it's not our people, man. That's why we get. I'm gonna start right here. It's Hosea 1:7. It says, "But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and I will save them by the Lord their God." It says, "And I will not save them by the bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, nor by horses, nor by horsemen." And this is pretty much going into, because there was a division going on, right? You had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom going at it. And this just goes to show, there's always been division amongst, the tribes, Jake. There's always been division. There's always been, people going at it, but somebody got it right. At the end of the day, that's how you gotta look at it. Somebody's getting it right, or somebody's doing it to the best of their ability, is right in the Lord's eyes. So somebody got it right, man. Somebody gotta have 100% truth. Meaning, the doctrine is, whatever the doctrine of the gospel isn't going off, man. Who the gospel's for, such and such. But this is more so focused on, our people, man. You know, the tribalism and these things that was always going on, man, is going to turn up even more, obviously now. But this is why the Lord, our people are gone. He's giving them up, man. Most of the majority of the people have been giving up to the ways of this world, man. Hosea 1:8, it says, now when she had weaned Lurama, Luruhama, it says she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, call his name Loami. He says, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. And this is, due to the whoredoms, the spiritual adultery, and learning to custom the ways of the heathen, man. So a lot of people are going to be looking for, a savior when the times come. They're going to be looking for, what to do and who to call on. And if you ain't been calling the name of the Lord, if you've been mocking any of the prophets or any of the little ones in any kind of way, man, you're going to be in a bad case, man. You ain't been building up your faith at all. You're going to be in a real bad case. Hosea 1:10, it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. It says, which cannot be measured nor numbered. So there's a lot of Israelites, but that's why, man, there's a lot of Israelites that are going to be saved, and that's why I say there's a lot of Israelites that are going to be saved, and there's a lot that are not going to be saved. There's more going to die than that are going to be saved, man. But it says which cannot be measured nor numbered. It says, and it came to pass that the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God, man. Verse 11. And where is that place? Right here. This is the land of our captivity, man. The land of thy captivity, they shall call upon his name. You know, is a lot of our people are not going to do that, man. They're going to take this as a joke. They're not going to take it serious. And this too, the sincere brothers and sisters, man, in this thing, man, they just not going to take it serious. They're not going to take their lives serious, or they're just not going to grow in this thing. They just, they're going to mock it. They're going to scoff it because they've been set up to do that. You got to understand this word. This is the book of living art in motion. They are playing out their roles predicated upon what they would be doing by what this book said that they would be doing. That's why we prophesy out of this book. And that's why you see a lot of tribalism and things that go on in Israel, man. Because it was going on then. You don't think it's gonna go on now? It's gonna be worse now. But Hosea 1:11, it says, "Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together." That's why we say that, because this is the place where we're gonna be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, which will be Yahushua, and they shall come up out of the land. It says, "For great shall be the day of Jezreel," meaning, when the Lord restores us, man, it's going to be a very great day. When the Lord completely restores us back to our former glory, back to the glory that Yahushua received with the Father, man, you know, it's going to be a very blessed day, man. Let's continue on. And this is one I wanted to get into. Hosea 2, the second chapter, it says, Hosea 2:1, it says, "Say ye unto your brother Ami, and to your sisters Ruhama." It says, "Plead with your mother." It says, "Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband." It says, "Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts." And that's pretty much going into the women of our nation. They pretty much learn these ways from the heathen. That's why a lot of a lot of our people, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can't even look at them as brothers or sisters, man. You gotta treat them like you paying like they of the world, man. You know, unless they come into this thing, they've been proven like you've been proven by what you sincere in spirit, right? You don't went through it. The Lord is trying our spirit every day, man. So unless they really fully ready to come into this thing, be tried, and take the narrow path that we taking too, and I'm kind of like, man, you can't trust these people, man. And that includes, those that say that they brothers or they sisters, man. They pretty much, and I'm using this symbolically, talking about the spiritual adulteries, man, because that's what they was doing. They was worshiping idols. That was the one thing. That's adultery, physical adultery, and spiritual adultery is idol worship. Those are the quickest ways to get the Lord to kill you, or get him to start working on your demise. Verse 3. It says, "Lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her as a dry land, and slay her with thirst." And he's talking about, the children of Israel. It says, "And I will not have mercy upon her children, for they are children of whoredoms," man. You see, and when it's saying mother, it's talking about those of our people that actually went into these different adulteries, these whoredoms. Now it's physically. It's talking about literal women, but we're known as the Lord's wife. We're supposed to be faithful to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. We're supposed to be consecrated by Him through Yahweh Shai, man. Through His blood and His sacrifice. So we're known as the Lord's wife, man. So we of course we're gonna go through things in the flesh, but you put those things off, man. You build when you start to build up in spirit. They really start to. I believe the Lord just takes a lot of things off of you, man. But you just got to keep building. You know, you got to keep building. You got to keep going. You got to keep your faith. Grounded. You got to keep your faith grounded and strong in these times, man. Because that's really what the devil is out the most. He's trying to sway your mind. You know, you got different brothers going through different shit. Brother had a gun pulled out on him and shit. Excuse my French, but the brother had a gun pulled out on him. At camp, these are things you're gonna go through. These are things that test your faith, man. Some of us might lose things. Some family member might call you, cuss you, and to get you locked up, or all kind of stuff is about to happen, man. So you got to really be 10 toes on, like 100% in on the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, man. Because them are the times we in. The family gonna be saved through us or our faith in Yahweh Shah. Because he got the sacrifice. It says, therefore, verse 6, therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns, and I will make a wall. It said that she shall not find her paths. You see, the Lord said he's gonna make it walls. Pretty much he was gonna blind a lot of our own people, man. And what was the path? The Lord said the wide path. You got the wide road, the wide gate. I'm sorry, and you got the narrow road, the narrow. In the straight and narrow way. It's been hidden from a lot of people. If you've been chosen to come up into this, man, you in the straight and narrow. That's a huge blessing in itself, man. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah for all you brothers and you sincere brothers and sisters out there, man. And call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. Rock a thumb to you, you know, because it's not an easy path, man. That's why everybody can't do this. And the more you grow and you understand, the more you realize, like, yeah, man, it's, you just you got the damn Inspector Gadget look, day after day after day. You just in deep thought. Like, man, because it's a trip, man. But hey, you know what? The Lord is going to continue to build you up. And really you should be rejoicing because, I rejoice, man. Because the Lord is dealing with you. Who can be against you? But anyways, continue on, keep it spiritual, keep focused. It says, Hosea 2:7, it says, and she shall follow after her lovers. You know, that's our people, man. That's 2/3 of our people, man. Not just the women. I'm likening this spiritual adultery, right, unto the nation. Because that's what a lot of our people have been blinded to. It says, but she shall not overtake them, and she shall seek them. It says, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it says, for then it was better with me than now. Verse 8. It says, for she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. And this is what the Lord sees calling our people back, man. They're gonna come back. In the time when Jacob's trouble. What was in in the day of the Lord, in affliction, they shall make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. Roughly paraphrasing. If I'm paraphrasing that wrong, Salakia. But that's how it's gonna be, man. Because they right now they're just blinded and delusional to the things that's going on in the world. Because the Lord don't want them focused on them. He wants them focused on the world. He wants those of us that's here to focus on Him, the ministry, right, and bettering ourselves. Pretty much, you need to be building ourselves up, man. And that goes for me too. Man, I'll be honest with you. I'm not gonna get on this camera in front, man. I fall every day. That's why I repent every day. You know, I'm not going to get up here in front like I'm perfect, but I can tell you, I can tell you this, you know, I'm definitely doing the work, you know, but that's if I'm doing it good or not, that's up to y'all. But shout to this. I hope, I'm doing it to the best of my ability. But see, that's where we got to come in. We got to really humble ourselves, because that prideful spirit that we already made and shit that comes from the world, man. You know, So it's just certain things that the Lord wants weeded out of some, certain brothers, certain sisters before, He's going to weed all of it out. It's all in good time, and you just got to stay faithful and true and know that He's going to do it. Hosea 2:9, it says, therefore will I return and take my corn and the time thereof, my wine and the season thereof, and I will recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness. He says, and I will now discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of my hand. Now it's talking about, obviously it's talking about the women, but this is likening unto, the whole nation, man, because the whole nation played the harlot with these different philosophies and you know Egyptology, right? And you have the Illuminati, Freemasonry, right? And you got these different Knight Templar groups still alive today. These different cabals and secret societies, secret organizations linked to these different organizations, linked to these big corporations, right? All of that, plays a part in how our people, rule up over us, man. The 2/3 of our people, they, because in wickedness, man, you do with this, this devil doesn't really even have to do much to come after us. Our people just, they surpass the wickedness of this devil. It works worse than the wicked, as the scriptures say, you know. So you can't really rely on it. You can't really put too much hope into that they gonna get it. Now, do we want some of them to get it? Yeah, I pray for the the sincere out there, man. Wherever they may be, wherever background they coming from. Because I was in the world. I gotta remember I was in the world too. In some cases I still fall. You know, so I look at it like this: who are we to You gotta understand the Lord used the Apostle Paul, man. I'm just off topic, but the Lord used the Apostle Paul, to who was killing his own followers, man. But he used the Apostle Paul, and he pretty much taught the Gentiles. He helped establish the church, the large body of believers, man. You know, and they even had disagreements at them. But anyways, continuing on, verse 11. It says, I will also cause her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts. In verse 12, it says, I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she have said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me. It says, and I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. Verse 13, it says, and I will visit upon her the days of Balaam, wherein she burned incense to them, and she decked herself with earrings and her jewels, and she went after her lovers and forgot me, saith the Lord. And let me get this real quick, and I'm gonna come back. Because this goes in directly what Jude was talking about. You had a large body of believers just fall away right at the end. And we right at the end, the latter end. It's the same things playing out today, man. And it was all for money. It was for money or for status, man. Because why you think they was out there debating all them times in the Roman courts, man? They was just trying to look the part in front of the people. They like to be seen and worshipped by other men pleasers, man. You know. But see, this shit was going on then too, man. Uh, Jude 1:11. It says, woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward and perished in the gainsaying of the court. When you understand what Balaam did, man, you know, Balaam was being used by Balak to try to curse the children, and the Lord used him and he reversed that curse. He turned that curse into a blessing, and then he ended up having Balaam killed. And he still ended up being, taking over this land, still being given to the Israelites, you know. So you can they can curse us, they can say whatever, but at the end of the day, whatever they doing to us, brothers and sisters, is going to reverse on them. We're seeing these examples in the scriptures, man. So you have kept your integrity, you kept the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, man. You growing in this thing. Obviously, we going, it's different elements going through it, but at the end of the day, you got to have faith that the Lord sees those things. And it says it in his word, man. He's not unrighteous to forget your labor of love, man. You know, your labor of love, man. You're going to weigh the balances of what you did and what you didn't do. But anyways, everybody got their own life. So you need to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Don't worry about what the next man got going on in his life. Now you just worry about you up in this truth right now. You worry about what you got to do to get to the next level in this thing, man. And one of the things I advise you to do now, you make haste. Because you don't got the time like the Elder Yashwan Boston goes into, man. We don't have the time that they had, man. So you want to make haste right now. There's no time for playing. But continuing on going back, actually, so I didn't mean to do that. They ran greedily after the era of Balaam for reward and perishing the gainsaying of the core. You know, they wanted money. They wanted the likings of the people, pretty much, right? They wanted to be seen of the people. Verse 12 says, "These are spots in your feast of charity. When they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds they are without water, carried about carried about of winds. Trees whose fruits withered, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots, man. You know, and see that's there's a lot of that goes on in Israel. So man, people be dealing with other people's wives and all kind of nasty shit goes on in those that know that they Israelites, man. And they use the scriptures to justify them, so they more monsters now than they were then, more than likely, man. You know, so you just got to understand, man. Is there very few that's gonna get it, and if they're not teaching what the elders and apostles literally always bring out, that the MOTB, is the RFID. You know what? They're not teaching that. If they telling you to take the vaccine, if they mixing the world with this truth to gain followers, saying you need to build businesses and build up Babylon, mystery Babylon the Great, help build this devil's kingdom up. I'm not saying just be a loser, but if you mixing this truth in, with the movement of how you move into this world, because the movement of the spirit is different from the movement of the flesh. Obviously, you got to eat, you take care of yourself, you able to make money, you able to get you a decent job, whatever. You do what you do, but you never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. But certain jobs gonna come with, you know, uh, certain things that you're gonna be restricted from when dealing with the Lord. You know, so certain things, certain jobs you might have to turn down. The Lord said, King Solomon said, that's give me neither poverty nor riches, and that's why, because certain things can lead you to move away from the Lord, man. Start dealing with the philosophies of this world, because the philosophies of this devil's world is always changing to some other shit, man. He's never satisfied. He's a double-minded man. So the world trends is always changing because people are literally in the same vibration as the devil, man. But verse Hosea 2:13, it says, and I will visit her upon her days of Balaam. I will visit upon her the days of Balaam, wherein she burned incense to them. It says, and she decked herself with earrings and jewels and her jewels, and she went after her lovers and forgot me, said the Lord. You know, that's why I say it's so easy for you to forget when you go in, like say, you start dealing with the devil. What the devil want to give you now that the government show he turn his back on you. I mean, how much more do you, like the brothers always say, how much more do you need to see? But anyways, continuing on. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably to her. This is the wilderness, you know. That's why certain brothers have harsh rebukes. Certain brothers have, very sharp and to the point, type of rebuke, very austere and sharp to the point. Some have rough and to the point, and some brothers, are more comfortable. It's all really in how the spirit dealing with you. But this is the wilderness, man. So this is the Lord trying to, fish. The fishing about to turn hunter, man. We fishing for those believers, man, still out there. Shall he find faith when he comes on the earth, and that's how we show forth our faith. Make our bodies a living sacrifice. Hosea 2:15. It says, and I will give her vineyards from thence. It says the valley of Anchor for a door of hope, and she shall sing there. It says, as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. You see, and that's what it is. This is that the Lord is going to restore us, man. As soon as the Lord, through this chaos, obviously, as we read about, he was going to pull away all the lovers, the gifts from your lovers. Esau, Edom, in particular, is who we're speaking about. The gifts from this world, things, because everybody's going to be in Jacob's trouble. But those that don't have that covering of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, man, you're gonna be in a very terrible case, man. We pray that that we under that, man. I pray I'm under that. Lord knows, man. I'm definitely a sinner. I need help, you know. But this how we show our faith amongst other ways, man, and within our conduct as well. Verse Hosea 2, continuing on in 16, it says, "And it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishi." It says, "And thou shalt call me no more Baali." It says, "For I will take the names of Balaam out of their mouth, and they shall no more be remembered. And they shall no more be remembered by their name." Meaning, all Adonaiah, that's why certain Israelites, when they say, you say Lord, mean Baal, that type of thing. But nah, I mean, we say it like that to those that don't know, you know. You teach it, you make it plain to those that don't know. We don't have to, we know what those words mean, but you know what we talking about. You should know at this point. Brothers use Lord, but you got a lot of Israelites like to swing at gnats and swallow camels, man. A lot of petty motherfuckers, man. It's crazy, but it is what it is. Hosea 2 and 18. It says, "In that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow. I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth. It will make them like to lie down safely." Now this is going to happen. I believe, this is going to happen during Jacob's trouble, man. You're going to see, the animals are going to help you. I believe, the Lord is going to put a special spirit on animals to help you. He says the earth is going to help. Like the earth is a living organism, itself. So it's like an earth unto a woman. It's a living organism. The plants are alive. They might not have a working brain, but they still function like a living organism, right? Just like animals, and how animals help the earth, and how are supposed to run and govern the earth. But see, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. But anyways, the Lord said He's going to have us lie down safe. Now, this is also in the kingdom, but this is going to be, these are things that this is Jacob's trouble, man. This is going to be going on. This is something that's going to go happen during Jacob's trouble as well. Hosea 2 and 19, because when you read about certain scriptures, it's depicting Jacob's trouble, man. Certain scriptures like, oh, okay, this is talking about both kingdoms together. Okay, so this definitely has to be Jacob's trouble. It's just food for thought. uh, Hosea 2 and 19, it says, "And I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto the righteousness, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercies." You know, the Lord's gonna, he's whatever, he's gonna restore us completely, man, with so much, man. We're not even ready for it. We're gonna be blessing us, loving us so much, man. He just ain't gonna be ready for it, man. Man, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, man. Because we really don't deserve it. All praise to our Lord Yahweh Shah, man, for his sacrifice. Hosea 2 and 20, it says, "I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh." Verse 21, it says, "And it shall come to pass." And all this when he restores us, man, after Jacob's trouble. "And it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, save the Lord. I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth." So the Lord's going to literally be dwelling with us, you know. Um, Hosea 2 and 22, because he's going to dwell within us. He's going to put his law on our hearts, man. So, but Hosea 2 and 22, it says, "And the earth shall hear the corn, and the wine, and the oil, and they shall hear Jezreel." Verse 23, it says, "And I will sow her unto me in the earth." It says, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. You see, let me get this out of NLT, man. because these are the people. I mean, this is how we looked at. We looked at as a no people right now. Now we've been brought back, called. We hope to be chosen. We've been called into this thing by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by way of the Rakak Wadash, man. But we hope to be of the hopeful elect. Hosea 2:23, it says at that time, at the NLT, it says at that time, I will plant a crop of Israelites and raise them for myself. It says, I will show love to those I called not loved, and to those I called not my people. I will say, now you are my people, and they will reply, you are our God. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. You see? And see, that's when a lot of our people are going to get it, man. Is when the Lord actually, he shows them pretty much how he gets down, man. That's when a lot of Israelites are going to get it, man. That's when all this shit, Salakia, that's when all this, BS that we got to go through, with the bickering and the actions and, the favoritism with the BS and entertainment, all that. That's when all of that's going to end, man. It's going to be, righteousness amongst our people, ourselves, man. We're going to be in our right state of mind, fully. Let's get this real quick. This is Jeremiah 31 and 33. Then I'm gonna end it because this is how the Lord's gonna do it, man. I was saying earlier, He's gonna put the covenant in our heart. He's gonna put it on our mind. So we automatically gonna. That's only given to the Israelites. That part of the promise. So to the hopeful elect out there, just keep enduring in the faith. But Jeremiah 31 and 32. It says, not according to the covenant that I made, and let's start at 31 to get a 31 and 31 to get context. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Verse 32. It says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, right? Because we broke that covenant, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband to them, saith the Lord. Meaning, the Lord was good to us. That's what it means to be a husband. That's what it means to be kindly. He joined us unto him. When we had dominion as Adam because the Lord joined himself unto us. Meaning he put his spirit in us, man. It's like even in the time of Deuteronomy, he put a zeal in the people, man. When he made a covenant with them, said it's not too far off, it's not far, across the world. Some of them they were going to just like then. Those same spirit, those same wicked spirits are back today in the wilderness. He said they will always be within you. Because the spirit will never leave us, man. And who was the angel that was with us? Yahweh Shai, man. So everything that the Heavenly Father did was very symbolic from the beginning. Verse 33, it says, but this shall be the covenant that I make with them, that I make. It said, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law into their inward parts and write it into their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Verse 34, and they shall no more. And this is when we get into the new covenant. It's another, cut to those that think that we in the new covenant already. We not in the new covenant. We under grace. We don't have the new bodies yet. We still sin. We still go off. You eat too much, you get, you got to do what you got to do. Drink too much, you got to do what you got to do. 34, it says, and they shall teach no more his every man his neighbor. It says, and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. So that's when we're going to be in the new covenant. That's when we're going to be, yes, you could say, for lack of a better word, we're going to be in our state of peace, man, because we're not going to have to deal with devils anymore. We're not going to have to deal with devilish people. We ain't going to have to deal with people calling the cops and, looking into our phones, right? Looking into our phones and trying to figure out, how to get brothers hemmed up, walking up to brothers, pulling out BB guns on brothers and shit. That's when our people are going to be in our right state of mind. And I seen the video. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not going to do nothing on that video because it's not It's not real. I mean, first and foremost, I don't feel like I'm obligated to have to, to speak on that, brother. Other than, I feel like he handled that situation, good. He ended that situation, like you should. You know, he was very respectful. He was very respectful, very humble. He pulled out a gun on him personally. Like I said, I would have used that as ammo to call the cops. I mean, it's not cowardice, like you say, right? It's using strategy, man. So let that be an example, though, man. It's sad that's the way how example got to come out, but let that be an example, man. That's why you don't go into certain areas and teach. Use wisdom. I'm not saying just be scary and be all paranoid wherever we go, but yeah, man, use wisdom, man, because people are definitely not right. You know, they want to make us an offender for a word, but they don't account for any goddamn thing that they have done or that they're doing because they're in the world, man. You see, so what they're gonna attach their good works to what they're able to do in the world. We're coming in a different spirit than they're coming in. You got to understand that there's a separation. The Lord. We're not like the world, man. I hate these motherfuckers, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I do not like people, man. For the simple fact that, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've always tried to be good with it, just be transparent. I feel like I've always, had that spirit of just being walked over. You try to be kind, and then, once I reach a boiling point, that's when, I fuck shit up, man. You know, obviously through growth, you don't do that shit. You learn how to cope with the things that, you dealt with. But I've always had this point being, I've always had a spirit of, just fuck this world, man. It's full of God. It's full of betrayal. These people are full of betrayal. They're not sincere, and a lot of them don't even know what the fuck going on. So really, man, you be a fool to go back into the world and join these dumbass motherfuckers, man. Just let them continue on and have their little fun. We just continue on in this truth and learning and growing, man. Let them continue on in the world because the world about to change anyways. You know, so you that's sincere in this thing, man. Just continue on in your faith, man. I'm gonna leave that right there. Hopefully you was edified. Call all you like Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua, Ba'Shem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles, GMS, through the real Shalom to the whole elect.